He's preoccupied again, it would appear, however. This is Deontay Wilder backstage, and he's examining somebody's gloves. Steve, what's going on there, do you think?
Well, we know he's not looking for the horseshoe anymore because that story's been buried. We know he's not looking for the metal implants. And as Tyson Fury correctly pointed out, your man was there. Why didn't he see it?
Thank you, Steve. John and Richie, here's Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Tomorrow night at the T-Mobile Arena here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and it's live on pay-per-view, ESPN Plus and Fox Sports pay-per-view. It is presented by Bob Arum's Top Rank Incorporated, along with Frank Warren on behalf of Queensberry Promotions, Bomb Squad Promotions, and TGB Promotions. This is a Premier Boxing Champions presentation, and it is sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook. Well, fans, we're ready to bring out our fighters on our opening pay-per-view attraction in this all-heavyweight affair. Please welcome the boxers first as they make their way to the stage. First, the undefeated fighter from Russia with 12 knockouts in his 22 wins. Here is Vladimir Tareshkin.
Tareshkin, 33 years old. He stands 6'6". And he's not lost a fight in over 13 years.
From Toledo, Ohio, with a perfect record of 9 wins, no losses, all 9 wins coming by way of knockout. The undefeated Jared Big Baby Anderson.
Now Anderson, just 21 years old and really exciting new talent.
And now we welcome our fighters to the scale at this time. This bout is scheduled 8 rounds of boxing undefeated heavyweights in action. First, ladies and gentlemen, the undefeated southpaw heavyweight contender. Here is Vladimir Tareshkin.
A switch hitter as well. He's been a sparring partner for both the Klitschkos in years gone by, and he's a very, very big man, Richie.
Yeah, well schooled, undefeated, southpaw who can punch as well, so big problems for Jared Anderson. It's great to see two boxers undefeated going head to head.
256 pounds, 256 pounds for the undefeated
256 pounds, that's 18 stone 4, Tareshkin.
And his opponent, the young knockout artist,
Jared Anderson.
The undefeated Jared Big Baby Anderson.
From Toledo, Ohio, he can really punch. He's been sparring Fury, and Tyson said that this could be a star of the next generation.
That's what Tyson says. Really rates this fella. You can't get better sparring than with Tyson Fury.
240 pounds even for Jared Big Baby Anderson. 240 pounds for Big Baby Anderson.
240 is 17 stone 6. He had to deny rumours this week, which have been circulating around Las Vegas, that he dropped Tyson Fury in sparring. I think he'd have been very happy to have said, yeah, that's the case, but he was man enough to say, no way, I didn't do that. But I tell you what, Tyson's saying how much he's learned and how much better he is than when he was the chief sparring partner, one of the chief sparring partners 20 months ago.
And remember, Tyson can obviously box as good as the southpaw as he can orthodox, so he might have turned around for Jared Anderson, the tall southpaw, so he couldn't have got better sparring for this Russian box that he's up against Tareshkin. Jared Anderson, tremendous sparring with Tyson Fury, who would have boxed the southpaw at some stage for him.
Well, here's the face-to-face, and my understanding is that for the big main event later on, we're not going to get a face-to-face like this. Too much at stake.
We are ready to continue with our
and the promoters don't want any. Bill McLaren might have called argy-bargy.
Anticipated rematch between two
it gets the crowd going, doesn't it, John? Not that there's. We needed the British fans over here, but they've been denied, so it would have been great. But nevertheless, it's good to see that face-off at the weight. It really makes things exciting for everyone.
He is the popular heavyweight contender. Please welcome Adam Babyface Konnotsky.
Konnotsky, born in Poland, now based in Brooklyn, New York. And it was a great
the stage at this time,
fight first time
from
round.
Stockholm, Sweden. 19 knockouts in his 30 victories. The world-ranked heavyweight contender known as the Nordic Nightmare,
He certainly was.
Robert Helenius.
And he agrees that he took his eye off the task in hand. Helenius,
and we're ready
big,
to bring
strong.
Our fighters to the scale at this time. Scheduled 12
I was
rounds
watching the
of
contest last night, actually, and Konnotsky started it well. He needed a little bit more head movement and needs to be quicker with the feet. Helenius kept it long for long periods of the contest and brought him onto a big right hand.
Well, Babyface they call him. If that was the face of your baby, you'd be a little bit worried.
258.
Got decent power as well, though, John Konnotsky.
258 pounds, 258 for Babyface
258, that's big.
His opponent, the long-time
18
heavyweight
stone
contender.
6. Now let's see how Hellenius weighs in.
The Nordic Nightmare, Robert Hellenius.
3 losses, including one to Dillian White. Beat Derek Chisora. He's got wins against the likes of Samuel Peter, Lamont Brewster, Sergei Liakovic. Big man, actually lives in Finland now.
246 pounds, 246 pounds for the Nordic Nightmare, Robert Hellenius.
He's tall, he's rangy, he's got the height and reach advantage over Konnotsky, so you know what contest he's going to box. Nice and long, wants to keep him on the end of the jab. Big straight right hand. Konnotsky walked onto it, so we need more head movement from this fella. But Hellenius, experienced box world champions in the past also. This would be a major scalp for Konnotsky.
And there they are, ladies and gentlemen, a heavyweight rematch, special
Hellenius
attraction, 12 rounds
won it
of
in
boxing.
the 4th round,
Robert
first time
Hellenius
around. It
versus Adam
represented a big
Konnotsky.
upset. Is Konnotsky going to be able to turn it round this time? Looking at the two of them side by side, you have to say that Hellenius is the one who looks in the better shape.
It's in good shape. It's all about where you box from in the ring in this contest, John. Konnotsky has got to push Hellenius back to the ropes. If you allow him to box in the ring space, centre the ring, he tends to dominate with those long straight shots. So Konnotsky has got to deny him that, get him back to the ropes and then work the body.
Fighting out of Miami,
well, this
Florida,
is the chief support fight now.
Cuba. He is undefeated 18-0 with 13 knockouts. The
Frank Sanchez being introduced, 29-year-old Cuban.
Sanchez.
And a good fighter, comes from the Saul Alvarez stable. He says Alvarez has told him to be patient and rely on your preparations.
Pick of the undercard fight for me. This is Sanchez against Ajagba.
No losses, 12
both
wins
undefeated,
by way of knockout.
tall,
The undefeated
Ajagba, big good power, but Sanchez himself, decent power also.
Ajagba, 2 years younger at 27, and he said Sanchez has made a huge mistake calling me out.
Rounds of boxing scheduled, WBC
Again,
Continental
I'm looking at
Americas
this,
and
this contest.
NABO
Sanchez, very skillful, typical Cuban, lots of talent, lots of skill, very quick feet. Ajagba, raw power. His feet are a little bit slow, but again, a good, big, straight puncher.
Well, let's see what he's going to weigh. Canelo has said that this is a man who he believes is destined to be a world champion. Well, that's a big shout.
240 pounds
240.
for Frank Sanchez, 240 pounds.
So he weighs in.
His opponent, the former
17
Olympian, the
stone 2.
undefeated world rank contender, Efe Ajagba.
And here's Ajagba. Big man, 6'6". And he can really bang. And he says, when I land one punch, it's going to be all over.
Yeah, big puncher indeed. But a straight puncher, not really a big hooker. He likes to throw the punches straight, long jab, good straight right hand.
237, that's 16 stone 13. So Sanchez will go into it with the weight advantage. And remember that they are both undefeated fighters, and this could be a very good fight when it actually takes place come tomorrow night. And it's a difficult pick. Sanchez is the favourite, but it's going to be a good one. Could be a very good heavyweight battle indeed.
Classic case of who lands first here. That's what it could be. Sanchez, really good, decent power, good hooker, likes to get close to his opponents. Ajagba, more on the outside, long range, big right hand. Who's going to land first? This I'm really looking forward to. Cracking contest.
Who indeed, and now we wait for the main event.
Thanks very much, John and Richie, for just a moment or two. Those are hopefuls on the way up. The men at the top of the heavyweight game are set to come to the stage next.
John, where are you now?
Steve, you all right, man? Just getting very wetty at the moment, pal.
Now, the way this was meant to work is that Gypsy John and I would get in the bus and we'd have a little chat, and then we'd go along to various landmarks in Manchester and pick up various people that have been influential and part of Tyson Fury's life. John hasn't made it because it turns out he doesn't like water of any type, and he's refused to leave his van until it stopped raining to get in a car to come and meet me. So there's no Gypsy John. Have you got an umbrella, John?
Yeah, I've got an umbrella, no.
I'll let you share mine. John, we'll be with you in a few minutes. Stay there. So at some point, I will be speaking to Derek Del Boy Chisora with Gypsy John on my side in Manchester. John, you got a ticket to ride? That's like your Achilles heel, John. If people ever come at you, all they need is a couple of glasses of water.
They'll be sorry, I'll tell you.
John, get on my bus, would you?
Lovely, thank you very much.
John, Derek arrives.
Hello, Derek Chisora, the warlord. The right people are here, and it's what matters to us. You've won, other people, they'll come round to the shock of it eventually. You know, but as we got home, 48 hours later, they took the, I think it was the IBF belt.
First one to strip.
The first one to strip. He said, I fought my guts out in a foreign land to win these belts for super champion. Now they've took this belt and made it vacant. He just couldn't handle that. He was depressed before he went into the Klitschko fight. And that just sent him to another level. Down, deep. As deep as you could go. And almost cost him his life. If you're 6'3" like me and 17, 18 stone, and you like to stand up for yourself, you're going to get into trouble, aren't you? But I wasn't bothered about fighting. I thought I'll have a fight with anybody. Win, lose or draw, I'm out there. Shirt off, done and dusted. You know, what can you get? A few cuts and bruises, maybe on toothpaste, sprained nose or something. Man got cheeky to me, he was getting it. Right hand straight on the tash. He was born with his fists up, and that glint in his eye always knew he was going to be somewhat special. He was born to fight, all right. The ones who's got Fury DNA, not shy of a fight.
How's that?
Fury is, fighting. He's fighting anything in life. Bare knuckle fighting in professional boxing, it's still a fight game, and it runs deep in our veins.
You know, I don't think there's many Furies who won't have a fight. So it must be in the DNA, mustn't it? Got to be.
Backstage at the MGM Grand, Tyson Fury with his wife Paris, who's happily made the trip after they've had a very difficult couple of months with their new baby. That's all fantastic and much more important. But we're all here to see how Fury acquits himself in defence of his WBC heavyweight title, the lineal heavyweight champion, about to go out into the arena to weigh in. And Deontay Wilder looks very keen to get on with it here, doesn't he? Just a couple of numbers for everybody to listen out for. Wilder varied widely between the two fights in his actual recorded weight. 213 pounds for the first fight, 231 for the second fight. Fury went up from 256 to 273, which is one of his heaviest ever weights, actually, for the second fight with Deontay Wilder. What do you expect to see this time, David?
I expect to see Wilder similar weight, and I think maybe Tyson Fury, he looks a little lighter. He looks quite slim. He looks quite good. So I think maybe he may come in a little lighter. He said he wanted to come in close to 300 pounds, but looking at him there, he looks quite good.
You know the mad thing? You stand next to him, okay? You stand next to him with people that are reporting it, and they say, "Oh, Sugar Hill, that's his trainer, has said he's going to come in at 23 stone." You only got to look at the man. Even if he weighs in today with his tracksuit on and weights in his pocket, he can't do 23 stone. I think he's going to be somewhere between his Los Angeles weight, December 2018, and his Vegas weight last year. He told me the other day when I did an interview with him on Monday, he was doing about 18-11, and that was comfy. That was after breakfast. So that would be about 10 pounds or 9 pounds less than he was last year. I think we're going to see something like that.
Steve, while we wait, all the family are here and they've had a very traumatic couple of months at home with the new baby Athena, much more important than the boxing. She's fine and doing well, apparently. How much has all that played on his mind?
Well, you know what, Paul? I wasn't with him, but I was with his father, Gypsy John, for a couple of days 7 weeks ago when Gypsy John was making the journey from Manchester, where he was in the gym with young Tommy, over to Alderhay Hospital, where Tyson was keeping vigil in the intensive care unit, sleeping on the floor. Him and Paris awake all night watching the baby, and he was taking Tyson on runs. And he said to me then, John, he said his head's right. When I came out here, we'd had silence for about 7 weeks, and then I got out here and I sat with him on Monday in Bob Arum's office, and I'm telling you, I've sat around this kid for a long time, since when he had loads of hair, and his eyes were clear, his mind was clear, and he was focused. What's more, he looked good. Even if he did have on a pair of black feather slippers, he still looked cool. The man pulled it off. He was dressed like Hilda Ogden, but he still looked
yourself,
good.
Actually, but
thanks, I'm doing my bit.
This is the Style Council here in the middle. So from Fury's point of view, all these distractions and so on aside, there's a lot of talk now, and Bob Arum reportedly yesterday saying he doesn't want to see a face-off. David Haye, hand-picked for this job because you have had moments, let's put it like that.
Yeah, I've had a lot of the time I've had my face-to-faces before the fights. There was a cage between myself and Derek Chisora. Obviously, there was a famous brawl we had in Germany, so they wanted to make sure that every time we had any type of face-to-face, there was something.
Why don't you
us.
fellas ever stop to think, if something bad happens, I might not get paid on Monday? It never comes into your mind, does it?
We're fighters, and when you get two fighters coming close to each other, you're not thinking about money, you're not thinking about an event, you're not thinking about a stadium, a postponement. You're just thinking, I'm not going to let this guy get the better of me in any situation, and if he pushes me, I'm pushing him back. If he punches me, I'm punching him, and you're wired. So one person makes one small move, someone gets punched, and it just takes one punch, as we saw with Caleb Plant getting a cut under his eye.
Absolutely, recent example.
That's a perfect example why they need to be moderated. I'd like to see something between them. I like the look of it as well. Makes it look like caged animals.
Dave would have it. Dave would get Hulk Hogan and the Iron Sheik out of retirement. He'd dress them up in their lycra, and he'd have them out in the middle of the tour. And why not? It would look fantastic. But Dave's absolutely right. Saul Canelo Alvarez against Caleb Plant, the first ever full unification of super middle. It's going to be shown live on BT on November the 6th, if I'm not mistaken, from the same T-Mobile arena. Those two got into it. Saul caught him with his fingers, broke Caleb's glasses, and a bad cut under his eye. If that were to happen today, that's a massive business. Millions involved.
No question.
So I understand what Bob's doing, but Dave's right. Give us a cage, give us a stage, give us someone in the middle, give us a little bit of colour, give us a bit of drama, give us a feel of what we got tomorrow.
I wouldn't want to take it away because that's part of it. You want to see both fighters looking into each other's eyes. You really giving them some verbal. There's a way to do it and make it safe. Put something between the fighters.
Do you think they'd want to do it?
Yeah, they'd much
both of them.
Every fighter,
Wilder as much as Fury.
100%. Both fighters want to look into each other's eyes and let the other one know you're going to get it tomorrow.
But there's an interesting thing here, and it's an expression I've been using all week, and it's real fights don't need fake fights, and that's true because there's so much animosity here. And what's really interesting, and I'm intrigued to see what David says about this. There's not an ounce of respect. They have no respect for each other. You can hate people, but you generally have respect for them. Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali hated each other, respected each other. These two, they've got no respect at all. Not an ounce of respect. I find that really odd, Paul.
One day might it all change, you think, when all this is behind us?
Would be nice, wouldn't it? Because you'd like to think that old pros, as they get older, they shake each other's arm. Look at David. You know, one minute they're rolling around the floor in Munich, then they fight each other. That's nasty. 10 years later, him and Derek are inseparable. They're like two lost brothers.
Yeah, I definitely think the respect factor with Fury was lost in the second fight. He felt so little coming back from Wilder. He's like, why should he respect him? He respected him after the first fight when he got put down so heavy. He came in such the right mindset.
There's a matter of honour attached to this from Fury's side as well, David, though, isn't there? You know, he was personally slighted by the invented.
I don't think that wound him up. I think that went the other way. I think that made him lose respect for him. And by losing respect for him, he lost respect for him as a boxer, not as a human being. And you can't get it too mixed up. Just because you say something after a fight doesn't mean your right hand doesn't knock the other person out. So look at him as a technical point of view.
Thanks, fellas.
And you'll get it right.
Let's take a closer look at this World Championship trilogy. It's Fury versus Wilder 3.
I've already beaten the guy twice before, so beat him 3 times in a row. Great. I don't care what Wilder said in the past. I'm there to do a job, collect me money, go home in one piece.
He couldn't knock me out. He couldn't knock me out even on my worst night. Because if the roles were reversed and he felt the way I felt, someone would be calling 911. I'm looking forward to presenting to the world the rejuvenated Deontay Wilder.
He probably wants to go down in history as a legend, so-called whatever. You know all the cliche that people say.
He don't want it as hard as I want it.
You got the freight train versus the 18-wheeler. Carnage and mayhem.
The power of my right hand, some people say, is the power of God. And if you get touched by it, you will be baptized.
You're all about to witness history. It's been a long time since a heavyweight trilogy has happened. Riddick Bowe, Evander Holyfield, Muhammad Ali, and Joe Frazier.
You want a moment where you can't take your eyes off the screen because you're so afraid that if you do 1 second that you're going to miss the best moment of your life.
Because me, Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, is going to obliterate Deontay Wilder. Finish him forever.
You have to be perfect for 12 rounds. I only have to be perfect for 2 seconds.
Someone's getting knocked the out.
Don't blink.
Well, fans, it's time to bring out our fighters for the main event of the evening. Brought to you by Bob Arum's Top Rank Incorporated.
Doing the introductions.
Frank Warren on behalf of Queensberry Promotions, Bomb Squad Promotions, and TGB Promotions, and a Premier Boxing Champions presentation, and sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook. All right, fans, here we go, bringing our fighters to the stage at this time. First, the challenger, standing at 6 feet 7 inches from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. In his 12th world title appearance, here is the former WBC heavyweight champion of the world, the Bronze Bomber, Deontay Wilder.
Patterson Johansson, Ali Frazier, Ali Norton, Bo Holyfield. Now, once again, we have a trilogy of world heavyweight title fights. There with his new trainer, Malik Scott, and looking at
and his opponent
Wilder,
is the defending world champion.
He's bulked up, but we'll
at
see.
6 feet 9 inches, hailing from Manchester, England, now fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada. The current WBC and lineal heavyweight champion of the world, the Gypsy King, Tyson Fury.
And here he comes. And I think that hat, Richie, is a little bit of a nod towards a WWE star.
It's the Undertaker. We know that the Undertaker, he comes out of a coffin, and the way he gets up, and that's obviously very relevant to how Tyson Fury got up in that first contest in that 12th round. No one could believe it, and that probably set the tone then for the second contest in terms of his tactics.
Right, well, let's see what weight he is. Remember,
here is the hard-hitting former WBC heavyweight champion of the world, the Bronze Bomber, Deontay
Wilder weighed 231 pounds. Is he going to be heavier this time? Certainly looks as though he's got a bit more weight around the chest and the biceps. Anxious weight.
238. Deontay Wilder weighs in at
7 pounds heavier.
Pounds,
he goes in at 17 stone.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, when you've got speed, I think I'd preferred Wilder to be lighter to produce that heavier shot.
In fact, the two-time heavyweight champion of the
a little
world.
Bit too much weight, that is for me.
Well, let's see what Fury is. 273 pounds last time.
The Gypsy King, Tyson
Wilder being kept
Fury.
well away. David Hayes suggesting that he thinks he might be a little bit lighter than the 273 he was last time.
277.
No, he's not. 277.
77 pounds. 277 for the Gypsy King.
277 is 19 stone
Fury.
11. So he goes in 4 pounds heavier than last time. Surprised at that, Richie?
No, not really, because he did so well in the second contest, didn't he? At the weight he was, and he's just 4 or 5 pounds heavier, so I'm not surprised at all. I'm surprised that Wilder come in heavier, to be quite honest. I thought he'd have gone for the speed of movement, and been lighter on his feet to deliver that right hand.
Well, there's a few bad words being exchanged, and if they're slightly industrial, the language, then our apologies for that, but you understand, and it's been a little bit like that all week.
Wilder, everything you did in this camp was with a purpose. What was the intent of bulking up to the heaviest of your career at 238 pounds?
Well, the weight just came on, I wanted to look sexy and feel sexy. I taste sexy as well. I'm bench pressing over a little over 350, so whatever weight come in, I can lay on my back and lift him. So it won't be none of that, rushing me and putting all this weight on me and different things like that. But most of all, man, we just wanted to have fun in camp. It was a joyful camp. It was a loving camp. And we had a lot of great time, you know what I mean? The time that we was giving, it was an advantage for us to be able to train and to make things, they say we practice for perfect, and some would say you practice for permanent, and that's what we did.
There's a stillness about you. You mentioned the word calm. How important is calm in getting a victory over Tyson Fury on Saturday night?
Calmness is the key to the storm. I know that when I'm not calm, my mind is cloudy. So when your mind is cloudy, it allows you to make bad decisions. But when you're calm, you can weather the storm. When you're calm, you're able to see certain things and you're able to decide, make great decisions. And I'm looking to be calm this fight so I can make the great decision, so I can show the people what I'm all about. We have rejuvenated myself. We reinvented myself. Redemption is upon us. And I can't wait to show the world what I'm all about. I'm reintroducing myself to the world as Deontay Wilder.
Thank you very much. We're all looking forward to that fight. Now I walk over to Tyson Fury, the WBC heavyweight champion of the world. Tyson, you're both the heaviest that you've ever weighed. He answered what it meant for him to be this heavy. What does it mean for you to be this heavy on Saturday night?
It means total obliteration of Adosa. Total annihilation. That's what it means to me. 277 pounds. I'm going to put him in the Royal Infirmary after this fight. Don't worry about that.
Now, you changed drastically for the rematch with Sugar Hill Stewart in your corner. What kind of changes and improvements do you expect in Deontay now that he's got Malik Scott in his corner?
Nothing. It's one shithouse teaching another shithouse how to fight. Both a pack of losers, and they both ain't worth a sausage. So he couldn't teach him anything. Man couldn't fight himself. He was a shithouse. So when you got a shithouse teaching another shithouse how to fight, you're in for a real pack of shithouse cowards. Look at the state of him. His heart's rattling now. His balls have sunk up inside of him. There's a man here that's going to annihilate you, Dosser. Me, the Gypsy King. Tyson Fury's the name. And fucking fighting's the game. There ain't a man born from his mother's cunt can beat the Gypsy King. Never mind a sausage like that there.
Well, we apologize for the language, but for the rematch, you predicted exactly what would happen against Deontay. And Tyson, just a final question. How do you envision this trilogy ending?
With him severely hurt on the floor, smashed to bits. Looks like he's been run over by an 18-wheeler truck. He was complaining last time he had a cracked skull and an injured arm. Oh, I can't wait for Saturday night. I'm going to really severely damage him. He'd be unrecognisable after the fight. His little pretty wife down there will not recognise him. Don't worry about that. I'll send him home butchered, like a butcher's block.
All right, thank you very much. Well, we've heard from Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. I can't wait. Kate, I'm sure you can't either.
Have to say once more, very, very sorry for anybody offended by the language. Beyond our control, unfortunately. We don't wish people to hear that either. But we're all a bit surprised, aren't we, Steve? By the numbers.
We are a little bit. I think Wilder seems to me a little bit heavy. I'm not buying Tyson Fury's weight. He had his trainers on. He had, as David said, a really expensive looking hat. He had on his full kit. He obviously had his phone or something in his pocket. I think he was probably, it said 1911 it says. I think he was probably closer to about 19-3 or 4 or 5. That means he's had a bit of a meal this afternoon, this morning. Because he looked good. We couldn't see how good he looks good.
David?
I thought... You can't take anything from Tyson Fury's weigh in there. His weight, he had his trainer's hat, he had a tracky. You don't know what he could have. Money in his pocket, his wallet, phone. You don't know what he's got in his pocket.
None of those things you have ever done, David.
No, exactly. His manipulation. He said he wanted to come in £300. That's what he said.
22. All that 22 stone stuff was rubbish. Come
he's
on.
turned up and he's heavy.
Yeah.
Wilder. looked great. He
While,
looked great.
While he's
great.
claiming that it's a genuine weight on his side at least, and very heavy for
But
him.
he had his bottoms on as well, Paul.
He did.
Just to say, according to those weights, this is the least amount of weight advantage that Tyson Fury's had now in his 3 fights. The first fight, he was 44 pounds heavier. The second fight, he was 42 pounds heavier. And I calculate he's 39 heavier this time. But he's not, because you take 9 of that away. That means they're down to within 2 stone of each other.
And there is a reason behind this, Steve, isn't there? And it's just dripped out from the Wilder camp, really. In the game, I believe it's called big manning somebody. You know, the bigger man will find a way to get on top physically, take the legs from
That's what Fury did in the second fight. In the
Exactly.
second fight, he used his weight advantage. He really did. The first fight, he didn't do it as much. Second fight, he really did. But I'll have to keep coming back to it. If
Let's see if they're going to have the face-off. We were told was unlikely.
That's quite close, that.
There's a lot riding on it. Frank Warren and others were not happy that they might try it. There's a great deal riding on it for everybody. Wilder's on his way out. And again, apologies for any of the language you find offensive.
The mindset from Fury just then, he wasn't having any of it. I haven't seen him this amped up prior to the fight. Even when he did the presser the other day, this is him really bubbling over. He really, really wants to hear that first bell, to run across the ring and do to him what he believes he could do to him, like he did in the second fight. And I think he's whipping himself up into getting himself into that crazy man zone where he's just going to just throw the kitchen sink at him.
And to go back to where we started on the show here, David, are you seeing the signs that your view you formed recently, that he intends to carry it out, that he is going to be different, and he really does pose a threat to Fury?
I think Wilder has been completely underestimated. I think Fury, looking at him there, he's pumped up. I think he's doubled down on it. I personally don't believe his training has gone anywhere near as good as the second fight has. So he's less prepared for this third fight than he was for the second fight, because he had no motivation for it. He's not the type of guy to go into a fight against someone he knows in his heart he can beat and train and push his body. He's not that guy. So you've got yourself Fury here, who's not as ill prepared, versus Wilder, who's had surgery on his arm to repair his arm and is now bigger and stronger than he's ever been before. I think we're going to get an upset, and I think more now after that weigh-in that it's going to go the way I say.
Thanks, David. Caroline Pearce, I think, is ready to speak to Tyson directly now.
Thanks, Paul. Tyson, successful weigh-in there. Heaviest you've been at 277 pounds. It was predicted you'd come in heavier. How do you feel at that weight?
I feel absolutely amazing. I've been training at this weight for nearly 2 years since the last fight. I feel amazing. I'm on fire. I feel like knocking a dosser out, and he's definitely in trouble tomorrow night. Don't worry about that.
It's the heaviest Wilder's come in, the sort of smallest kind of weight difference you've had. Do you think that could make any difference when it comes to the fight?
Yeah, I think it'll make him slower, and he can't carry his weight like I can. He's not a natural big heavyweight. He's only a natural small man. He should be weighing about 14.5 stone, never mind 17 stone.
So we've seen you, the most riled up you've been all week on stage just then. There wasn't a face-off. It looked like you wanted one. How did you feel about that?
They're not going to face me. You're messing with a real man here, and that's a coward. He'd never come face-to-face with me. I would fight him and his army on my own, where he'd need 50 men to fight me. That's the difference.
But some words were exchanged from the side of the stage. What were you saying? We couldn't quite hear
I
it.
have to apologise for my language. I got emotional and I'm up there, and it means a lot to me. So please excuse the language, and anybody who's offended, I do apologise.
No problem at all. We understand that obviously tensions have been riding high. You've got your wife Paris is here now, family here, but not the British contingent, the fans that we would have hoped for if this was like a month later. How's that affected things this fight week?
I would have loved all of my fans to be here, but I know they'll be with me in spirit and in prayers, and I just want to thank everybody who's going to tune in and who would have been here anyway. Without this massive pandemic that's gone on, it's sort of messed up all the world, and but it's going to be a great fight, one of the best fights I've ever going to witness. This is going to be it. It's all on the line. Everything's on.
Absolutely, we're so looking forward to it. Can you tell us what you think's going to go down, a round, a prediction, how you'd feel most satisfied with a win?
I'm just going to punish Deontay Wilder. I'm going to really severely damage him, and he's had a lot to say in the build-up. He's called me bull from a pig's foot, and there's not much he hasn't done in this build-up. but it's all sticks and stones. It doesn't really bother me too much, to be fair. But I hope he comes at me and let's get it on straight away from round 1.
You want a challenge? Well, best of luck tomorrow. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you. Just like to say, happy to be sponsored by the King of Crypto, Emacs. Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best.
Well played, Tyson Fury. Thank you very much, Caroline Pierce. There's no way this guy beats me off Tyson Fury. Do you, Steve?
Yeah, which is the theme that we've got all week, and it's something that David's been touching on here. And I think Tyson would be the first to admit that his training camp has been different. I don't think he'd say it's been bad. Of course he wouldn't say it's been bad, but it has been different.
He's had stuff happening in his career.
Absolutely. I mean, if you design any training regime 6 or 7 weeks before a fight like this, of this magnitude, with so much at stake, you are not, and I don't want to keep going on about it, you're not sleeping on a floor in an intensive care unit whilst your baby daughter is inside that unit.
But problems do happen in the build-up for big fights, and we get to hear about them afterwards.
And his argument is that he has done it absolutely right. He said, I don't need. He said, no grown man needs 12 weeks for a training camp. I was in great condition anyway. I've got over the COVID. I've got out here. I've had fantastic sparring partners, real sparring partners. Now all of that I would have taken a pinch of salt until I sat with him on Monday in Bob Arum's office, and I looked at a man who was about 19.2, 19.3, told me he'd been 18.11, who, by the way, was focused, clear-headed, and spoke brilliantly.
And another thing, and you were like this in the latter part of your career, when you know the game so well, as you fellas do, when you're coming up to 30, 31, 32, 33, big specimens, athletes in their prime, you know your own body.
You do,
right? And what works for you.
You do.
You were like that.
To say for Tyson Fury to say he doesn't need 12 weeks, if you're in good shape, he doesn't keep himself.
He claims he is, though.
He claims he is, David. You can see videos of him jumping around, body fat all over the place. You don't get that from training.
He's 6'9", David.
Well, no matter how tall you are, you don't look at. He's 2 inches taller than Wilder. Wilder has, probably 30 pounds less body fat than he has. So, training consistently, looking after your health, not going out and doing crazy stuff, is what you need to do as you get older. I'm not. Hopefully, he's adapted his life, and you're saying he's right.
Another issue.
I have seen how I've seen him between fights, and he looks like he puts on a hell of a lot of weight. He blew up 10 stone. So
okay,
10 stone
and another new dynamic
really.
this time round.
Yeah.
Very, very noisy here, even without the massed crowd we had for the last one. It was like a football match, but Caroline actually did mention it. You fed off the support you had late in your career. He's not going to have that this time round. Do you think that's a factor for him?
What's that?
The lack of Fury support. Another month, there would have been 10,000 Brits.
I don't think so. I think both of these fighters are so mentally tuned up for it. It's not about the crowd. It's about them proving it to each other. Who's the man? Who's number one? I know Wilder's going to do whatever he needs to do. Fury, he's a natural-born fighter, and as long as the ring and the referee can count to 10, they're both going to go at it. I don't think the crowd's going to make that much difference, or the lack of British support for Fury. I think he's just going to go out there and do what he does.
And he might have played to the crowd all this week, and that, for all we know, it might have actually drained him a little bit more. If you want to know the honest truth, he might have played around a little bit more this week. The lack of crowd might have concentrated his mind and focused him. If you want to know the honest truth, Paul.
Wilder side, back to you, David. Lastly, on all of this, they've crunched these numbers, not the weight so much as the other physical factors. How do we impose ourselves on this 6'9" giant? Does it come to the footwork? The one element that Steve didn't get to earlier.
The footwork was horrible in the first fight, and it was horrible in the second fight. I've seen a lot of stuff like online, and a lot of the footwork drills have been going in from Malik Scott. Malik Scott knows what works, what doesn't work. He's a purist of the sport, so he gets what is required. You don't have to be a genius to review the first two fights to work out that Wilder needs to get his feet in the right position.
And he will. Paul,
Last word to you, very briefly, please.
And he will get his feet in the right position if he can get his head and his hands in the right position. You've got to have them all together. It's a team.
We're a team. We pause here and we get ready for Saturday night. Fantastic, boys. Thank you very much indeed. Fury Wilder 3, only available BT Sport box office to watch online or via the app. Visit www.bt.com/sport box office and follow the instructions. BT TV customers, use your remote or go to channel 494. Virgin customers, go to the on-demand or live events section. For BT Sport subscribers on Sky, order via Sky box office. Sky customers, please check the website for details. Customers in the Republic of Ireland can purchase BT Sport box office via Sky Sports. Fury Wilder 3 tomorrow night at midnight. We've loved it. That is the build-up complete from here at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. We're decamping across town to the T-Mobile Arena. David, Steve, and the rest of our team, I know you don't want to miss it. Take your seat.
With a bout you've all been waiting for.
Wilder versus Fury.
Remember how it felt to feel the force of true drama. No pen could script this. No prophecy could predict this. The world shook. A clash to send tremors through history. The conflict of kings. The shockwaves hit you like a clinch. This grips you, holds you, pulls you closer. Things were going as you hoped, just like you expected. But this world can turn on its head. You were flawed. Warriors reborn.
Somehow Fury has managed to get up.
How beautiful is the unexpected.
And now Wilder's holding on.
How powerful is the unknown. Gladiators. The Colosseum was our screen.
The decision is a split decision draw.
The world knows the truth. I won the fight.
Once more into the breach. Once more into the gauntlet. You breathe deep. Lungs ache with attention.
We're underway. A new aggressive Fury trying to get Wilder onto the back foot.
Thunderous punches.
That's the best I've ever seen Tyson Fury fight right there.
The crackle of lightning strikes. A wild and furious storms in our sights. A titan turning the tide.
Not enjoying this one bit.
You cannot avert your eyes.
He's never been in trouble like this before.
You were connected. The atmosphere electric. Charged with ferocity. Onslaught after onslaught.
And it almost looks like fear in those eyes. Tyson Fury proving himself here, the best heavyweight in the world.
You roared. Two lions fighting for pride.
Champion of the world.
Victory. A champion comes alive. Now the stage is set to the showdown of our time. Once more into the breach. Take your